When we heard we might have the chance to have her at the show, we had just an outstanding reception from people that are in the industry, consumers that maybe started to hear that that might be in the works. So we were so thrilled to have her. It was something that we felt that, Canadian icon, historical race boat, that people wanted to learn more. And so we just thought what a great place to be, back home with the boating industry. So that was sort of the motivation. It was to give back to the consumers so they could be educated on such a fabulous boat and driver, and the fact that there's going to be a commemorative stamp being issued in August. That was a wonderful tie-in when we heard that. So we're very pleased to be a part of that.
What's special is it's a piece of history to start. Secondly, it talks about a time when Canadians were dominant in a sport, and this sport will never be dominant again because it's sort of come and gone with Miss Supertest. And it was such an exciting time.
Miss Supertest III, 6,000 pounds of her, the world's fastest and most powerful hydroplane. But you handle her like a fine tool, every polished inch of uncounted value.
The story of Miss Supertest, the story of Bob Hayward, the supposed chicken farmer from Embro, it touched a Canadian nerve.
The first time I seen it, I was 3 years old. And actually, I still, to this day, remember the races being there. My dad was the crane operator that lifted it in. And actually, me and my sister got to sit in the seat and got a picture taken before he lifted it in the water. It was such a big thing. Like, there was all kinds of important people around. I guess the one thing I remember as a kid is it seemed like to me the rooster tail was still in the air when the boat was into the corner. It seemed like the rooster tail went the length of the straightaway, and the noise of them, the power, it was just unbelievable. It was something you can't forget.
Well, at the end of World War II, there were all these engines laying around from the war. There were not enough airframes, more engines than airframes. And so the Wartime Assets Corporation was selling these things off dirt cheap, about $500 a throw for an engine. And the move after the war was to go to big engines and put them in your boats. And so you have boats with aircraft engines, which, as you can imagine, were quite something. The Americans, for Harmsworth racing and international competition, could only use engines that were made in the United States, which would have been the Allison engine, which was used in bombers and American fighters. And the Allison only put out a certain number of horsepower. The Rolls-Royce engines, and the Thompsons had an in at the Rolls-Royce company, the Rolls-Royce engines put out more horsepower than the American engines, and could therefore guarantee that we would win in races because we had a stronger engine. And the Americans were always upset. They wanted to change the rules of the Harmsworth race so that they could have access to Rolls-Royce engines too. Now, the Rolls-Royce, you had the two different engines. You had the Merlin engine, which was in the Lancaster bombers, and you had the Griffin engine, which you see in the Supertest III here. The Griffins had been in Spitfires and later marked Spitfires 14 later in the war. And so you had a fighter pilot's engine in front of the pilot, so it was pretty impressive. But the Americans wanted the same engine, couldn't do it. Everything had to be from your country if you're going to race internationally.
Let's face it, we started out with absolutely knowing nothing about actual boat racing. But what was involved in the first several years, there's no doubt about it, was a learning experience. Find out how to make her run, how to keep her running, and 3, to be competitive. So we got through, I'd say with the Supertest 2, we got to be able to keep her running well, and with 3, to really do the winning. That was the best water I'd say that we ever ran on anywhere, because in the reach there, you've got sloping shoreline, which absorbs waves well. And any other race course we've been on, as far as I'm concerned, couldn't compare with Picton.
it's been unbelievable, because especially the area that in the show where we positioned the boat, we are drawing a lot of people in because of that boat. All the exhibitors around it are just loving it, and we've got a video playing beside the boat. We've got experts in the field of Miss Supertest, so people are gathering around, they're sitting on the floor watching the video, eating their lunch. It's just unbelievable. So we've had people asking me, can I get a copy of that video? And they just want to learn more, and everyone's got a story to tell. They're saying, you know, my uncle, my grandfather, they knew, you know, or they were around and they saw the race, or whatever it may be. It's like just a chance that people want to share their experiences.